starts now.
All right, welcome into First Alert Weather Extra, and we are tracking some cooler air that's going to be moving in during the overnight tonight. That's one of the big stories here in the short term. Hope you had a great day out there. It was kind of windy. Had a chance to head over to Irondale, visit some of the kids. I'll show you some of those photos here coming up in a few moments. Let's get you over to the weather out the door this evening. One of the weather headlines right now, we have 60 in Fayette, 62 in Birmingham. It's windy, the sky clearing, temperatures falling. So as we go through tonight, if you're about to head out, you may be thinking, well, it doesn't feel too cold. I might not need the jacket. You'll need it, especially if you're going to be out later on tonight. You can see there mostly clear sky. 8 o'clock down to 53, 50 around 9 o'clock tonight. But notice the breeze still west-northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Out the door tomorrow morning, 30s are back. 38 in Tuscaloosa. Birmingham went with an average of 37 here around the Anniston, Oxford areas, Weaver, Sachs. With the wind being a factor, if we did see some frost, it would be mainly in those sheltered, protected valleys and areas to the far north. Wouldn't worry about having to drip the faucets tonight. The temperature, with it being, of course, well above freezing, that won't be a problem there for early tomorrow morning. So that average low around 38 degrees. I mentioned maybe a little bit of frost in a few spots, but not a major frost tonight. I'll tell you what, tomorrow night, actually, that's going to be the time when we're going to have some more dense or more thick frost developing across the area as temperatures take the tumble. Our Friday on the cooler side, which actually this is where we should be for this time of the year. Average highs 54, average low temperatures 35. So we're right where we should be as far as January goes. It's been a wet January. We've already seen about 4 inches of rain, and there's a chance that between now and next Wednesday, we could see an additional 3 inches of rain in parts of our area. We got some wet weather coming, lots of rain to talk about in our forecast, and we're going to get into that coming up next on First Alert Weather Extra. And also, we're going to take you beyond the 7-day forecast, show you billion-dollar natural disasters. I mean, some of these values with some of these events that have happened across the country. We're going to also talk about some of the weather photos you've sent in. So we'll see you back here for Weather Extras. We are just now getting started right here. Stay with us.
Every storm has a story, where it came from, where it's going, and the lives impacted in between. Where our story begins is with your First Alert, warning you well ahead of time so the chapter in between isn't filled with surprises. The largest team on your side, dedicated to telling the story that starts and ends with you. This is why we First Alert.
First Alert, we are tracking
In times like this,
we now have a tornado warning that's active.
having a way to see and hear what's happening on your phone,
The most intense part of this storm right now is tracking towards Shelby County.
that means everything.
Okay, you need to get in your safe place now. Stay there. We will let you know when this warning expires. Stay with us.
Download the First Alert Weather app today. Stay alert. Stay with the First Alert Weather Team. Mornings, they're yours. Where you start fresh, get your body moving, and tackle a new day. Our mornings are for you. Janice, Mike, Mickey, and Toy, starting early and staying with you all morning long. With more voices speaking to you where you are, and getting to the point with more First Alert weather and traffic from the source you trust. Always on your side. This is Good Day, Alabama.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. It's been a week now since the tornado outbreak across Alabama. There were fewer tornadoes in our direct area, but certainly to the south of us across central Alabama, parts of south central Alabama, and into West Georgia. There were some tornadoes that caused damage and unfortunately resulted in loss of life. We check in now with meteorologist Matt Daniel and Mickey Ferguson to let us know how this outbreak ranks in the grand scheme of things.
All right, let's do this. All right, 3, 2. So Mickey, last week we had that tornadic outbreak that happened on January 12th. A lot of it was just in our southern counties and in the south central Alabama. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, but we've plotted out the tracks of these tornadoes so we can share that data with you. We start out with the Delmar tornado in Winston County. This was an EF2 determined with 125 miles per hour.
That's right. So it just started just the south of Delmar and then made its way off towards the north and east. It had a max path width of right around 425 yards and almost 9 miles. So that was one of the first storms that developed that day. And then we had more storms fire up, Mickey.
Yeah, we have this Utah tornado. Now this went across Greene, Hale, Tuscaloosa, and Bibb counties. This also is an EF2 with 130 miles per hour winds determined on that. Fortunately, no fatalities.
That's right. That path length almost 39 miles there, Mickey. And by the way, all this information from the National Weather Service, they've worked really hard trying to get the latest surveys. They're still trying to finalize those numbers. So definitely a big shout out to them for the hard work they've put into this. And this is the information that we're getting from them. This is the Greensboro tornado, EF2, 115 mile per hour winds, and it had a path length of a little over 21 miles, Mickey.
500 miles wide. You think of 5 football fields, put those together.
Yeah, 500 yards, you said. Yep. Miles.
Did I say miles?
Yes, you did. Just wanted to correct you there.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. Fire Tower Road tornado. This one has clipped southern parts of Bibb County and parts of North Perry County.
105 miles per hour. That's an EF1, but even these EF1s have shown to do significant damage. You think of 105 mile per hour winds. This was on the ground for a little over 16 miles, closer into 17 miles there.
And then, of course, Selma, you were there covering that storm afterwards, seeing the damage in this part of the area in Dallas County. This was an EF2 with 130 mile per hour winds. There were 2 injuries from this, but it had a path length of almost 23 miles, and it had a maximum path width of about 950 yards.
Man, that's pretty amazing. A pretty wide storm, but that's not the one that stayed on the ground the longest. This was Old Kingston, the Lake Martin tornado, and this was again on January 12th. EF3, 150 miles per hour, but look how long it was on the ground, Matt.
Over 82 miles, Mickey. 82 miles. So for longest tracks for the month of January, this is a record for the month of January.
And it's a very wide storm too, 1,500 yards wide, pretty amazing, and just a path of destruction there. And that, of course, is the one where we saw the fatalities. We had 7 fatalities from that system.
Yeah, that's right. So I compiled a list of the top 10 longest Alabama tornado tracks. The longest track actually occurred on May 27th, 1973. It was an F4 tornado. It was Greensboro, Brent, Centerville, and those areas. It had a path length of over almost 140 miles. So that was number 1.
And just down from that was April 27th.
Yeah, and that was the Carrollton Bluntsville tornado. And then look where we rank with last week's tornado track, 6th.
How about that?
Right behind the April 3rd, 1974 F4 tornado of just over 110 miles, which, by the way, happened in Aliceville, Jasper, and in Coleman. So pretty impressive to see something like that in January. Normally we see those in springtime.
Right. And or you might see them in November, maybe December, but having them in January is pretty rare. It's getting to be where we could have severe weather almost any month of the year.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
Certainly
And of course, we'll always keep you on your side with the latest information. If there's any threats, we're going to be here to give you those details.
All right.
Thanks, Matt and Mickey. We are certainly so grateful for our partners at the National Weather Service. They're the ones who are getting out. First of all, the ones issuing the warnings while the storms are ongoing, but also getting out after the storm to let us know exactly what went down and what the rating is with these tornadoes that came through. So speaking of natural disasters, they time and time again cause millions, if not billions of dollars in damage. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, shared what disasters had the biggest impact on the U.S. last year.
Two of the costliest disasters back in 2022 was Hurricane Ian. As you all know, made landfall in September on the west coast of Florida. That damage was around $113 billion that Hurricane Ian did were on the money side of the damage cost. And then the other one was the heat wave and the drought back in the western and central parts of the United States with damage costs around $23 billion.
And that's actually straight from one of our weather watchers here, Brody Wesson, who is a student at Mississippi State. But as Brody was saying, more than 3 million people were displaced in the United States last year, all due to natural disasters. The U.S. Census Bureau says 3.3 million people were impacted in 2022. 1 million of those affected are in Florida, which was hit by Hurricane Ian in September. Louisiana also saw a large portion of its population displaced, mainly by multiple tornadoes that hit the state last year. The United Nations Refugee Agency has identified natural disaster displacement as one of climate change's most devastating impacts. So we actually just got a little preview there with one of our dear weather watchers, Brody Wesson. And now we check in with meteorologist Tania Michelle. Tania, you talked with Brody as we go to one of our favorite segments, Mets Around the World.
Yes, Lauren, you're exactly right. And I'm calling Brody a future Met. See, he is a junior/sophomore. He's taken some classes and is considered by a sophomore at Mississippi State right now. But by credits, he's a junior. And he's coming along on his meteorological journey and almost there exactly. So we're going to talk a little bit about his journey in college for future Mets around the world. So tune in, sit back, relax. And here is Brody Wesson. Hi, Brody.
Hello.
It's so great to have you. So I wanted you to come on to Weather Extra tonight because tomorrow we're getting this second perspective of what it's like to go through meteorological school right now in college. And tomorrow's guest goes to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, but you're at Mississippi State. Funny to say that. I went there. So it's great to have you on today. And I want to know a little bit about, I know, right? Go State. Hail State, actually, right? Is that what you said?
Hail State.
Hail State. Yeah. I remember. All right. I'm not that old. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about what it's like right now. Tell us what year you in, first of all.
So if you go by the curriculum we have here at Mississippi State, I'm a sophomore. But if you go by the amount of credits I have, I'm a junior because I actually have an associate's degree in journalism, transferred over and started this past August working on my broadcast meteorology degree.
That's awesome. Congratulations to you. You're literally almost there. You're so close. So that's
smell it.
I know, literally. That's how I was at the end. I was like, okay, this is the finish line. Keep going. So tell me about what classes you're in this spring semester.
So right now I'm still knocking a couple prereqs out of the way, but I'm in natural hazards, which is so far I'm like loving the course. Today we talked about winter weather. I'm in trigonometry, chemistry, and then a physical geography, which is kind of the same thing as weather and climate, probably on a broader picture. So those are the classes I am in this semester.
Okay, cool. And so as far as getting into that major, how does it feel now to not have to be in those prereqs? You're now diving into the science of what you supposedly, I hope, love.
Yeah, you always have to do the prereqs to get them out of the way. But luckily, I was able to knock most of my prerequisite courses out of the way at my community college there in Birmingham, Lawson State. Got most of those knocked out of the way. So only got a couple more left to do this summer. But next fall, we jump into hardcore, the fun meteorology courses.
Nice. Okay, that's great. And your last semester is going to be spring of 2025, or is it this upcoming fall? Spring.
Man, fingers crossed. We're hoping.
Listen, we already speaking into existence. That's awesome. 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 Okay. So Brody, my next question for you is on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard, and be honest with our viewers, how hard is meteorological school at Mississippi State?
Right now, I would say it's about a 3 or 4, because you got to get those math classes. I haven't got fully in, but those math classes are going to be the hardest ones, I think, that I'm going to deal with during my time here at Mississippi State. So right now, I'm giving it a 3 or 4. Next semester it'd be like,
I can see that. I definitely think that like the physics and the Cal 1, 2 classes, and I know like if you're the professional ready to take differential equations, that's the hardest part of it. So I do agree. That's when that scale goes from 10.
Yeah, it's real quick.
That's awesome. Okay. And so my next question for you is, how is it being like coming from a different school, getting that prerequisite done there, and then going to Mississippi State? Because it's not a traditional route. So how has that been for you, adjusting, like coming in as you're not a freshman, but it may feel that way just because you're new to the campus? How does that feel? How was that for you?
Yeah, it kind of does feel like I'm a freshman one time, because I really didn't go on campus any. I did my whole entire associate's degree online. So I haven't been on a college campus since January 2020. I had about 3 weeks of on-campus experience at Lawson State, and then the COVID hit and everything shut down. So I haven't been on a college campus since January 2020. So in some ways, I feel like I'm a freshman. But some ways I'm like, okay, I'm the upperclassman now, we're getting sophomore, junior. So it really doesn't feel like a freshman, but transitioning, it takes some time. I'm still, trying to learn this campus. But so far, so good here.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're on your way. You're so close, getting really almost there, literally a little over a year away. So.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about my last question for you. We'll end it right here. Is what is one piece of advice that you would have for someone if they decided to take a step back, go to meteorological school, or maybe a step forward into meteorological school? Maybe they're in high school and haven't gotten there yet, or they could, like I said, be taking that step back and wanting to change careers. What advice do you have for someone that wants to pursue meteorology?
If you want to go into this business, whether broadcast meteorology, whether it's on TV, like you are, or if it's operational behind the scenes of the National Weather Service, do it. If you, love it and have a passion for it and it's your dream, do it. It's been my dream since I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I knew when I was little, I was going to be a meteorologist. I'm in TV stations all the time. I love being in TV stations. So if it's your passion and you love it, then go for it. The sky's the limit.
Absolutely, the sky is the limit. Thank you so much for Brody for sharing his time with us, and Tania for asking such thoughtful questions. Coming up next, we check back in with Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt for a look at that 7-day forecast, and then I'll take you on a journey beyond the 7-day. First Alert Weather Extra, we'll be right back.
January is Bass Safety Month, and I'm on site to see how West Shore Home is providing homeowners with safe and accessible bathing solutions. Today, we're going to do 2 installations in just one day. So let's go upstairs and check it out. So you can see this tub is really hard to step in. That increases your chances of falling. So what we're going to do to fix that is install an easy, low-step shower with beautiful sliding glass doors. But this isn't the only shower we're working on. We're gonna go check out the next right now. So we're gonna replace this tub with another tub, but what we really wanna focus on is this up here, the drywall above the shower, because if moisture gets in there, mold can form, and that can be a huge problem. We're gonna fix that by bringing the walls all the way up to the ceiling. That will eliminate any concern of mold growing. So it's time for me to get out of here so the installers can get to work. We'll check back in when the job is done. So the installers just wrapped up, and this looks amazing. They took the walls all the way up to the ceiling, and they were able to replace that old tub with something new and modern. But this isn't the only project they worked on today. Let's go check out the other bathroom. In just one day, the West Shore Home team was able to complete 2 installations. And the crazy part is, we do this type of job every day. So if you're looking for a safer bathing solution, give us a call and you can get this great offer. Call in now because we're doing 18 months of no payments and no interest financing. That means you don't have to worry about paying anything on your project until well into 2024. Plus, we're taking 20% off all shower and bath projects. Call West Shore Home now.
Well, fun times today out at Irondale Community School. Want to give a big shout out to Mr. G and principal for having me out there today, Principal Stewart and Mr. Gerlach. We were talking to the 5th graders out there today and have this pulled up on my computer. A lot of the kids there asking some great questions. What a wonderful group. Lots of great smiles and all giving a big thumbs up on this weather today because it was beautiful out there, a little breezy. I just want to let you know, teachers, if you are interested in having one of our meteorologists come speak to your class, to your group, you can find us on the website. You can head over. We have an entire page for this. It's called Weather in the Classroom. Sign up. We'll get those emails and a member of the team. Hey, we love to get out on the road and we'll come see you. So check it out there, Weather in the Classroom. All right, let's get into it. 7-day forecast. We've got some rain coming back Saturday and continuing into Sunday. But right now the story is going to be some chilly weather. It's been kind of mild today, so if you step outside, feels okay, and you have some evening plans tonight for this Thursday night, bundle up because later on the chill will be in the air. That temperature taking a big tumble, and as we start out tomorrow morning, well, it's probably going to be more of a 3 cup of coffee perhaps kind of start there to warm up. 38 degrees, and the wind still a factor overnight. That should help to mix out any major frost development during the overnight. The temperature staying above freezing. But notice the wind northwest. We've had more of a west wind today. That wind is starting to shift around to the northwest, and that's going to pull in that colder air. So that's why we still anticipate a morning low near 38 degrees. Some of the data suggesting that clouds could start to build in tomorrow. Wouldn't surprise me. I still think we're going to have some sunshine in the mix. Notice the afternoon high 56. It's going to be noticeably cooler tomorrow, but that's not far off from where we should be for this time of the year. All right, late tomorrow night, Friday night plans you may have. I think we're dry during the evening. After midnight, though, there could be a few sprinkles. And Saturday morning, you'll want to check in with us here. Saturday morning is going to be one of those starts. You may look out the window and say, hey, it looks like it's about to rain, or there may be a sprinkle out there. That could happen early on. Wouldn't be a major impact. Most of the day on Saturday should be dry for us. That's going to be the typical transition. As we start to get a little bit of moisture in here, sometimes you can get one initial wave of maybe a few sprinkles, some clouds, but we should break into some decent weather during the day on Saturday. This is showing the time. There you go, right there, 9 o'clock Saturday morning. You can see mainly dry and some clouds starting to build in. There's 1 o'clock. One thing I'm seeing here, this model, what we saw yesterday, you checked in with Tania, Lauren today. A lot of our data has been really consistent on Saturday night, being that prime time for that next big thing, next big chance of rain. And here it comes. You can see the latest update showing 6 p.m. starting to build in towards Demopolis, Utah, back into Pickens and Tuscaloosa County. And this is the kind of setup. The rain, as it lifts in, we stay in the cooler sector of this storm system. So the air won't be quite as unstable. We don't expect any severe storm threat out of this setup. It's just a lot of rain and a cold rain. Look at this wet weather with temperatures in the 40s. That is going to be a cold and miserable weather setup there for the overnight. Good sleeping weather there in the early Sunday morning. And starting the day on Sunday, making those plans, I think Sunday morning's the best chance of rain. This will gradually thin out, but this is one of those setups where it takes the rain a while just to completely move out of here. That will likely taper off to some drizzle, some mist, still lingering clouds into the afternoon. I mean, you can see lunchtime, the data still showing a little bit of rain as some of that moisture moves in. We just really don't have a strong surge of dry air moving in, so we'll probably have some clouds sticking around into Sunday evening. And then Monday, we got some dry weather, and then here comes the rain again on Tuesday and into Wednesday, highs in the 50s. So far this month, about 4 inches of rain, and looking at the setup, we could add to that total. This has been a very rainy January, and we want to go to meteorologist Lauren Linehan hand, because Lauren, you were taking a look at some of that long-range data. The one good thing, I guess, with these temperatures staying cooler, less instability, at least the storm mode has settled down a bit.
Yeah, Wes, I will say beyond the 7-day, I'm not really seeing anything that stands out in terms of a severe weather threat, because that storm fuel, that instability, that energy in the atmosphere likely going to be lacking. But what does stand out to me is that still the dominant pattern 8 to 14 days from now is favoring above average rainfall across a good portion of the U.S. And yes, that does include Alabama. So when could we see those next rain chances? Well, let's look at our American model going forward in time here. Here we are next Friday, the 27th. So rounding up January here. It looks like we should be fairly dry next Friday, if not a little chilly going into next weekend. Dry for next weekend on Saturday, and looks like Sunday should be without incident as well. Then we get towards the end of January. Here we are on Monday, the 30th. We begin to see a little bit more of a dip in the jet stream, and that could eventually bring us some cooler temperatures as we round out the month. I will say, though, what I've been seeing is favoring really seasonable temperatures. Nothing really stands out as, oh, getting really warm or, oh, getting really cold. Just kind of what we would expect for the latter half of January. Then here we are on February 1st, still showing that we could have just very seasonable weather in place. When I was looking at this model earlier, it had been showing a few more storm systems or rainmakers, but now it's kind of dried out a little bit. So remember, this data that we're showing you, it can and will change. The forecast beyond the 7-day is always subject to change as we get that better high resolution data in as we go forward in time. But here's a look at temperatures as well. And so you see this line here that's representing those seasonable averages for this time of the year, which is 54 degrees right now. So as we look through the middle of next week, going into next weekend, and then rounding out January, heading into February, generally temperatures look fairly seasonable, with a lot of days hanging out there in the mid 50s. Now, what about some cool downs? Well, there could be a potential for some colder weather coming in by next weekend, which maybe could get us into the 20s, but generally not seeing anything that stands out. Again, is first of all that ridiculous Arctic blast that we got around Christmas, but also not seeing anything in the way of really sweaty spring-like temperatures either. So generally looks fairly quiet, but potentially some rain in the forecast here as we look beyond the 7-day. But we'll take a final look at that 7-day forecast coming up. First Alert Weather Extra. We'll be right back.
Every storm has a story, where it came from, where it's going, and the lives impacted in between. Where our story begins is with your first alert, warning you well ahead of time so the chapter in between isn't filled with surprises. The largest team on your side, dedicated to telling the story that starts and ends with you. This is why we First Alert.
First Alert, we are tracking
In times like this,
we now have a tornado warning that's active.
having a way to see and hear what's happening on your phone,
The most intense part of this storm right now is tracking towards Shelby County.
that means everything.
Okay, you need to get in your safe place now. Stay there. We will let you know when this warning expires. Stay with us.
Download the First Alert Weather app today. Stay alert. Stay with the First Alert Weather Team. Mornings, they're yours. Where you start fresh, get your body moving, and tackle a new day. Our mornings are for you. Janice, Mike, Mickey, and Toy. Starting early and staying with you all morning long. With more voices speaking to you where you are. And getting to the point with more First Alert weather and traffic from the source you trust. Always on your side. This is Good Day, Alabama.
And here's one final look at that super 7-day forecast. Tomorrow morning, maybe just a bit of a shock to the system. Temperatures back down into the 30s. You may want to crank on that heat tonight unless you're a little bit more hot natured. Then you're like, oh, maybe I'll just leave the window up before going to bed. So 30s for Friday and Saturday morning. Very seasonable temperatures, though, as we go into the weekend. Still getting some of that dry sunshine tomorrow, but we do have that first alert for rain. Showers are going to be lifting in from the Gulf of Mexico as we get into Saturday night. So if you have any Saturday evening plans, account for the fact, there could be some rain around. We aren't expecting much in the way of thunderstorms, though. Still some lingering showers on Sunday, as Wes was saying. Premium napping weather. We always live to give a first alert for that. I can't wait to take my Sunday nap. Monday will be dry, but then we're keeping that unsettled active weather pattern in place and another chance for rain. We're still going to fine tune the timing on that. So check back in with Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt tonight as we get in some of that new data. Right now it looks like maybe Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Still plenty of time to fine tune that in the days ahead though. But notice as we go into next week as well, temperatures still fairly seasonable. Highs in the 50s and lows with a little bit more cloud cover, upper 30s, low 40s. So nothing unusual. We're always happy to see that. But we'll be back tonight on First at 9 with the latest on your forecast. In the meantime, I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Join us back here tomorrow evening at 6:30 on your streaming device, and have a safe and happy Thursday. It's Thursday evening, almost Friday.